Open sesame. It's time for the Sports Vault with Jersey Joe and Big Shot Rob.
Yeah, Joe, I think the Knicks are going to win the championship this year. They're going to beat the Heat.
Let me stop you right there, Rob. The Miami Heat will win the championship this year.
It's back-to-back titles for the Heat. The 2013 NBA championship resides once again in Miami.
The Madden cover winner in 2012 was Peyton Hillis.
Peyton who?
Running room with the ends. Peyton Hillis is loose. Sprint to the end zone. Touchdown.
Hello, Iona College. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. I'm your host with the most, Jersey Joe, coming with my partner, Big Shot Rob. And as we always do, we'll kick it off with our NFL stuff. So the NFL season has come to a close. The Seattle Seahawks are crowned champions. And the way we're going to start things off is we're going to do a final evaluation of all 32 starting quarterbacks. Because like we stress on the show all the time, you're not going to get very far in this league if you don't have a good quarterback. So the way we organize this is we have three tiers. You have the first tier is the team, they've got their guy. He's the man. Number two, the second tier is we still have to wait. We're still not sure on this guy. And number three is this team, there's no question they need a quarterback. So we'll kick it off right now with the first tier. And the first one I have is Andrew Luck. There can't be any objections on this one. I really think Andrew Luck could be the best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, if you look at the Colts team, the talent, there's no talent on that roster. I mean, on the defensive side, you take Reggie Wayne away from that offense, and they have nothing on that side of the ball. The fact that Andrew Luck has brought them to the playoffs the way he has the first two seasons of his career, he's going to be tremendous. And if they get him more talent on that roster, then you got to watch out for him because he's going to win a couple Super Bowls. Number two, you can't argue with Tom Brady, the things he's done. He's still playing at a good level. The Patriots really need to surround him with more talent because his window is definitely closing, and he's still playing very, very well. Three, Peyton Manning. I mean, we all think he's going to come back next year for the Broncos, so they're set right now. If he does come back, they're still going to have a good chance. They're going to make a playoff run. Number four, you have the Seahawks. They've got the guy, Russell Wilson. He got the job done. He fits perfectly into that offense. I like it. Number five, you got the Falcons with Matt Ryan. It was a down, very disappointing year, but I think he's shown over his career that he's the guy there. They signed him. He's their franchise guy. Now, Big Shot Rob might have some problems with this one, but you got the Giants at number 6 and Eli Manning. I know you had some problems with Eli Manning before, but there's no question, 2 Super Bowls, he's the guy, right?
Yeah, he is. You know what? The biggest problem was the offensive line this year, and I think they need to get more offensive linemen, better ones, especially they're losing a couple guys this offseason. So they need to pick up. Once you protect Eli Manning, he's a great quarterback. We've seen it, 2 Super Bowl rings, MVP twice in the Super Bowl, and you know what? I think the Giants could be a better team. However, though, Joe, I'm not sold on Matt Ryan. He is the quarterback, definitely, for the Falcons. I'll tell you that. He will bring you to the playoffs every year, but he's the guy I don't see winning a championship.
It's tough, there's so many of those guys who, they get you to that point, and then it's like Andy Dalton, can he get you farther? So we'll see on that one. But number 7, we have the Chargers with Phillip Rivers. Now, me being a Chargers fan, Phillip Rivers had a very nice career. His window is definitely closing, and, I think you have to say the Chargers have a guy. They'll be relevant. They'll compete with him, but there is going to come a point where his time is definitely running out, and you're going to have to start looking in a different direction. But for now, they have the guy. Number 8, Rob, you were talking about with me with this one, is the Bears with Jay Cutler. Now, the Bears think they have their guy here. They signed him. They gave him the big money contract. But you're not too sold on Jay Cutler.
No, I'm not. I feel don't get me wrong, he's a decent quarterback in the NFL. He could bring you to the playoffs, but he's constantly getting injured all the time, constantly throwing interceptions. Look at that game, that last game versus the Packers. Close game, and they lose that one. And you know what? I'm not sold on him, though, as a franchise quarterback. I thought he was decent when he was with the Broncos, but he's not that quarterback that's going to win anything.
I think he has a lot of talent. He's got a great arm, but the thing I've always didn't like about him is his attitude. He's such a pouty guy. You've got to have your guy being a leader, always upbeat. Look at Andrew Luck in that game against the Chiefs. Who would have thought that the Colts were to come back from that game? But did you ever see his head down, moping around on the sidelines? Nope, he was energetic. He was telling his guys that they were going to get back in this thing. That's not the kind of attitude I want from my quarterback. And like I said before, I don't doubt his talent one bit, but I think when you have a quarterback, you just can't have a guy with the attitude like he does. But the Bears paid him the big kind of money, so they have their guy for a long time now. Number 9 is the Lions with Matt Stafford. I think Stafford has a lot of talent. The thing that drives you crazy with him is he's so lazy with his mechanics sometimes. Sometimes he's just kind of lazy with his throws. But I think the talent you can clearly see is there. I think head coaching wise, is if they can correct some of his things, I think there's no question he's the guy there in Detroit. The Packers with Aaron Rodgers. Durability has been a concern the past couple seasons. I really do think that Aaron Rodgers' skill might be diminishing a little bit, but if he comes back next season, you know the Packers are going to be relevant, but the durability is going to be a big concern for him going into the future. Then with the Ravens, you have Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco, he won the Super Bowl. The Ravens paid him the big money. He's their guy, but he did struggle this season. The Ravens overall struggled. I definitely think that the injuries played a part of it. His guy Dennis Pitta being hurt really hurt him. Losing Anquan Boldin was a big thing, so they kind of got to figure out that offense. Ray Rice really had a bad year, and that hurt him a lot too, so the Ravens got a lot of things to worry about, but Joe Flacco has shown the ability to win. The Panthers with Cam Newton is a big one. Some people still not sure, like Rob was saying before with Matt Ryan, if he's a guy who can just kind of get you to that point and he's not going to get you much further. And that could very well be the case with Cam Newton, but he does have a lot of talent. He can make plays with his feet, but we'll see with him. And the 13th is everybody's favorite, Tony Romo, especially in the media-wise. That I've never been a big Tony Romo guy, but he's got a talent there, but that situation in Dallas, it's just a mess. Probably, other than the Browns, might be one of the most dysfunctional teams in the NFL. So him with Tony Romo, he'll be competitive, but I don't think the Cowboys, the way that things are working out there, are going to win it for a very long time. And then 14 with the Steelers, you have Big Ben. Steelers have been kind of weird the last couple seasons, but Big Ben, he's won 2 Super Bowls. He's been to 3. He's been a winner. He's proven it, so he deserves on this list. And number 15 is Drew Brees. The Saints offense had a very nice year. They've just really struggled in the playoffs on the road, but he makes all the plays. And then here's a couple that I put them borderline. Still not sure to like they have their guy. And the first one is Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick, I really don't think he had a good year. When you look at the 49ers when they were struggling, it's because Frank Gore couldn't run the ball. Colin Kaepernick didn't play well in those games. When the 49ers went on that streak and they were playing well, Frank Gore could not be stopped, and I just haven't seen the big improvement from Colin Kaepernick. It's still very early in his career, so it's hard to tell. But for me, I still am not sure about Colin Kaepernick. He's still got time to prove it, but for now, I'm just not ready to say that the 49ers have their guy for the future. Rob, what are your thoughts on Colin Kaepernick?
Kaepernick, I don't see him as the starting quarterback for the 49ers. I think they should go out and get a new one. Kaepernick, everybody knows him. It's either he's going to run or pass, and everybody knows how to shut down his running game. Otherwise, Frank Gore is that whole offense carrying that team. And you can see if Kaepernick is not the quarterback for them, they should have kept Alex Smith. I think they have a better chance if they had kept Alex Smith.
We'll see. The next one I have is the Eagles and Nick Foles. Nick Foles, tremendous year. I think that he's going to be a very good player. And the good thing for him is he didn't come into the season as the starter for that team. So he's going to go through the whole offseason being the man. There's no question Nick Foles is the guy there in Philly. And he should be the guy there. But you still got to put him in that range because you never know what's going to happen now with that next season if it was just a one-season type of thing. But I don't think so. I think Foles is going to be a very good player, and he could very well be the guy. The next two I have is Alex Smith and Andy Dalton. So Alex Smith with the Chiefs. I've never been a big Alex Smith guy. He's proven you can win with him, but when I think at the end of the day, he's one of those guys like Matt Ryan or Andy Dalton where they're only going to get you to a certain point. He just isn't explosive enough. Down the field, I don't think he can make the throws where you need a big arm guy who's going to make the big throws, the big plays, and everything with Alex Smith is always methodical, move the ball down the field at our own pace. He needs a good running game to really be effective, and I just think that he doesn't have all the tools you need to be that main guy, but he can win games in this league. Same thing with Andy Dalton. He's proven he can win games, but there's so much talent on that Bengals team, especially on offense. A.J. Green, Jermaine Gresham. I mean, you have so many good players, but he just hasn't been able to get past that first round of the playoffs. So I don't know if he's the guy there. It doesn't seem like they're going to have any interest in moving him, but I don't think you can put him in that elite, they have their guy category just yet. And then, so that's the first tier, about 15 guys for sure, and then you have 4 in addition to that who could go either way with. And the next tier is the second one, which we're still not sure on. So the first one is Ryan Tannehill with the Dolphins. Now, I mean, you've seen sparks here and there his first 2 seasons. The Dolphins look like, and they have been, about an 8-8, 7-9 team. I mean, the collapse they had this season, it was very weird. I mean, the last 2 games of the season, they were in the playoffs, and they just really struggled. And Ryan Tannehill, I don't know. He's a really hard guy to analyze and figure out. I mean, you see talent, you see the sparks here and there, but overall, I just don't know if he's the future there. Rob, you've never been a big Tannehill guy, have you?
No, I really don't like Tannehill as a quarterback. You know, when I went to the Jets-Dolphins game at MetLife Stadium this year, he looked really great in that game. And then you look at the last 2 weeks of the seasons where if they win that game, they're automatically in the playoffs. He gets shut out, takes on the Jets, and the Jets just shut him down completely after he blew them out weeks before that. So this guy, I'm really not sold on him whatsoever. I don't think he's that guy that could be that leadership role.
All right, the next guy we have is the Jets. It's Geno time. Geno Smith. A lot of people are down on Geno, but I'm not as down on Geno as some people. I mean, I think it's still early in his career. He's got definitely the turnovers were the big sticking point for him, but I think you saw a slight improvement in him, and that's all you can really ask for. Some guys just takes longer for them to develop. I don't know if Geno Smith's going to be the guy for the future, but I don't think that. I think he needs more time to figure out and fully evaluate to see if he's the guy for the future. Are you confident, the Jets, that he's the guy for the future, or you think eventually they'll need to go in a different direction?
Well, I think next year will tell you everything about Geno Smith if he's their guy for the future. We saw towards the end of this season when the offensive coordinator let him run more, use his legs, how more efficient he was, more effective. And plus now in this offseason, the Jets need to bring him a wide receiver group.
Absolutely.
You know, had a very this season. Santonio Holmes, is going to be cut from the Jets. He hasn't really done anything with them. And now they had to set him up with a great amount of wide receivers, and that could tell you if Geno Smith is your quarterback for the future.
Well, we'll definitely see because, well, as you see in a couple segments we'll get to, there's a lot of free agents out there, so stick around for that. After that, we have the Bills and E.J. Manuel. E.J. Manuel, I've been pretty high on him. Even last year coming out of the draft, I said it on this show, I love E.J. Manuel. The injuries is kind of what hurt him this year, but when he did play, you definitely saw that he had talent and ability. So I definitely think E.J. Manuel, you're still not sure on him, but he still has a lot of time to figure out. The next one is the Rams and Sam Bradford. Now, Bradford, before he got hurt, was playing pretty well, but overall, I just don't know if he's the guy there. It's been tough overall in his career there, but he should have the reins, and I think this is it for Sam Bradford. I think he's got to prove this year that he can be the guy to lead that Rams team because they have a really good defense, that Rams team. They're starting to put together a very good roster there, and Bradford's got to show that he's the guy who they drafted and paid him all that money for. Following that, you have the Titans and Jake Locker. The only reason I put him on the tier 2 is because he did show slight improvement this season. He showed some ability before he got hurt. Overall, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think he's going to be the main guy at the end of the day, but it's still too early to tell. I think maybe you got to wait out a season more. And then the other one I have, which I'm sure is going to be controversial, is RG3 with the Skins. I mean, RG3, I don't think he's going to be able to last in the NFL the way that he plays the game. I mean, you watch the Redskins offense and the way they operate, and at the first sign of trouble, I mean, he takes off, he's running, and you're not going to last in the NFL. That's why Michael Vick has only had one season in the NFL where he's lasted all 16 games. You just don't last in this league like that. Guys are too big. Guys are too strong. The quarterback position is too important for a guy like RG3 to be running around like that. And I don't know if he's going to be the guy for sure. This season was kind of controversial with everything from Shanahan to the injury, the way things were handled. So this season might not tell us everything, but next season you definitely got to see improvement from RG3 because it's going to be very telling next season. And then the final tier 3, is there's no question these teams, they need a quarterback. So you've got the Cardinals and the Browns. Carson Palmer, he's old, past his prime. Cardinals are building a nice roster, but they need a quarterback. The Browns, most dysfunctional team in the NFL, they need a quarterback desperately. They're probably going to take one in the draft. 3 is the Texans. The Texans is a good one because they have a lot of talent in Houston, and if they can draft a good quarterback in this year's draft, which it looks like they will, they'll be in good shape. The Jaguars, look, they've been looking for a quarterback for a long time now. This draft has got a couple good ones, so we'll see what direction they go in with this draft. The Vikings desperately need a quarterback. I love Cordell Patterson. They have good pieces on offense, but they really need a quarterback. Christian Ponder, what a bad draft pick. The Raiders, they've been looking for a quarterback forever. They need a quarterback desperately. I mean, I think Terrell Pryor had some nice moments here and there, but they need a franchise guy. The Bucs is a tough one. I mean, Mike Glennon, who's played last year for them, he showed some improvement. He showed that he could play and win some games, but I think overall Lovie Smith is going to want to go in a new direction for that team, and I definitely think that they should draft a new quarterback. But moving on to our second part of this NFL segment is, I think part of all the playoffs and the Super Bowl pushes, kind of all the new head coaches and new coordinators kind of got overlooked because of all the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So we're going to give you our thoughts on all the new head coaches, the coordinators. We'll go up and down the list on the most important ones. So there were 7 new head coaching hires, starting out with the Redskins, who hired Jay Gruden, fired Mike Shanahan. He definitely needed to go. But I'm not too high on this pick. I mean, Gruden, you saw with that offense with Dolan, I mean, they did have some plays here and there. They had a lot of good players, but I just wasn't too sure on this one. I mean, Gruden being hired there, I don't know. He just doesn't look like he's ready for that position yet. I don't know, Rob. What did you think on this one?
I'm not sold on the Gruden signing as head coach. I think they need to get like a really big head coach. Maybe try to get somebody like even John Gruden, Joe. Because you know what? This Redskins team needs a top coach. Shanahan, he was a top coach, but he really fell out towards the end with the Redskins. Couldn't get along with his quarterback. And when you have bad chemistry with your quarterback, you're not going to win games with coach and quarterback like that. What they need is a serious guy who wants to win a championship and get on pace with Robert Griffin III to go lead this team.
Absolutely. The one after that is you have Mike Zimmer with the Vikings. Both the Bengals offensive and defensive coordinators leaving to take the head coaching jobs. Zimmer, I mean, I think Zimmer's a good coach, and I think he's been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. But I think now in the NFL, I mean, I like when teams go in the offensive direction, but I actually thought this wasn't a bad hire. I think he's been a pretty good veteran guy. I think that he might do a good job. The problem is you got to be patient with him because there's a lot of they need a lot of pieces with this Vikings team. Most importantly, they have no quarterback, and whenever you're a new head coach taking over a team without a quarterback, that's always going to make things a lot harder. Number 3 is the Tennessee Titans, who hired Ken Whisenhunt. Fantastic job with the San Diego Chargers. He really brought Phillip Rivers back. He really had that offense moving the ball, really played well. I was really hoping he would go for the Lions job, but that's telling for the Lions organization. He decided to take the Titans job. I've always thought Whisenhunt was a good coach. I don't blame him for, after Kurt Warner left the Cardinals, he couldn't find a quarterback for that team, and it's part of the reason why that team struggled, but I think Ken Whisenhunt's a good coach. It's a good hire. Number 4, you have the Lions and Jim Caldwell. This was probably my least favorite hire. I mean, being a big Lions fan as I am, I was not very happy with this hire at all. I mean, Caldwell, he inherited a Peyton Manning team, and he brought them to the Super Bowl, but they lost that game, and I think that team was just already built and ready to win, and as soon as Peyton Manning left that team, I mean, they were just dreadful. I'm not too high on this one. And the thing about him is he put a lot of pressure on himself because he said in his opening press conference that it's not 2 years from now, it's not a year from now. This team is built, we're going to win now. So that's putting a lot of pressure on yourself for a team that's really killed themselves and just lacks so much discipline. He's got his work cut out for him, but they've got a lot of talent on that Lions team, so we'll see how that works out with him. Number 5 is the Texans and Bill O'Brien. But like me and Big Shot Rob were saying before, we love what Bill O'Brien did with the Penn State job. The way that he inherited that program is just remarkable. He's really got them moving in the right direction. And now he comes to a Texans job. Good ownership, a lot of talent on that team. The only thing is they need a quarterback, and I'm sure they're going to solve that problem in the draft this year, and we'll see what happens with that one. Bill Belichick disciples haven't gone on to do very well as head coaches, so that could be something to take note of, but we'll definitely see what's going to happen with Bill O'Brien. Another one this is one of my favorite ones, is the Buccaneers with Lovie Smith. I think he's a perfect fit for that Tampa Bay system. I mean, he's a defensive guy. They have a very good defense with Darrelle Revis. They've got a lot of good Gerald McCoy. They have a lot of good pieces on that defense. I think if they can get a quarterback in there, then they're going to be in good shape, because there is a lot of talent on that Tampa Bay team, but I like Lovie Smith. He's a veteran coach. He knows how to win. I think it was a good hire. And the worst one I thought is the Browns with Mike Pettin. It's not part of it's not his fault. I mean, the Browns are just such a dysfunctional organization. I mean, they fired a coach after one season after he showed that he had some promise. It was just a terrible, terrible hire. I mean, when his daughter went on Twitter and said that it was bragging that her dad got a job, but said, yeah, but it's the Browns. I mean, that's all you really need to say. I mean, this is not a very coveted job. He wasn't their first candidate, so they kind of had to settle for him, and I just wasn't a big fan of that one. But overall, that's the new head coaches, and there's been a lot of offensive coordinator positions. The first big one is the Ravens with Gary Kubiak. I thought this was a great hire. I love Gary Kubiak. I think the Ravens offense, they've really struggled finding a good guy. I mean, they had Cam Cameron and they fired him before the Super Bowl. Then Jim Caldwell was the guy, but I think Kubiak's going to be great. It reminds me a lot of Ken Whisenhunt with the Chargers last year. You know, Ken Whisenhunt got fired from Arizona. He got the Chargers job, really improved that offense dramatically, and then he got another job. I could very well see a similar situation with Kubiak. He got fired from the Texans job. I think he might do a fantastic job with the Ravens this year, and then he might be looking at getting a new job. Next one you have is the Cowboys, and look, like we say all the time, the Cowboys are so dysfunctional. They add Scott Linehan to the staff. They demote Monty Kiffin. I mean, what are you going to do with Bill Callahan and Scott Linehan? I mean, it really is just embarrassing the way things are going with the Cowboys right now. How do you hire another guy? And I was reading that Scott Linehan, I think, is going to call the passing plays, and then Bill Callahan is going to call the running plays. You're not going to win games doing this. It's embarrassing the way things are going with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, the way he has this thing set up, you can't have one guy calling the passing and one guy calling. It's just not going to work out like that. It's flat out embarrassing. And hey, look, it makes it interesting. When the Cowboys are bad, the media loves to have a firestorm with it. So they're going to be interesting to talk about. And like every season, they're 8-8. The skies are always falling there in Dallas. And I'm sure next season that's what we're going to be talking about. The New York Giants hired a new offensive coordinator. They hired the Green Bay Packers quarterback coach Ben McAdoo. And I didn't know too much about McAdoo, but I have a little inside information with the Giants, and they're very excited about him. They think he's going to do a really nice job. And I think it was definitely time for a change. Kevin Gilbride, for all you can say about him, I mean, he won 2 Super Bowls with that team, but I definitely think it was time for a change, and I think that this is going to be a good change for the Giants, get some young new blood in there for the offense. I mean, for all Gilbride was, he was a little predictable. His play calling was questionable in some phases, so definitely, I think it was a good move by the Giants. And my man, Norv Turner, I love Norv, to the Vikings. I mean, the situation in Cleveland for him, that was just so bad. It was really tough that he had to go through that. But with him, he's going to the Vikings, who don't have a quarterback either, but he's got a good coach in Mike Zimmer, and I think it's a good fit for him. And then the Redskins, this was a bad hire. Kyle Shanahan, I never understood why even I was upset when I saw the Ravens were considering him. Kyle Shanahan, I thought the only reason he had that job in Washington was because of his father. I never thought he was a good play caller. I think this is a bad hire. But look, the Browns, all they like to do is create more chaos for their organization, so that's what they're going to get. And then after that, you have the Chargers, who lost Ken Whisenhunt. They promoted Frank Wright, who was the quarterback's coach last year, to offense coordinator. So I don't know if that's going to be a step back for them, because Ken Whisenhunt, I mean, look, let's face it, we all thought he was going to be gone after the season anyway, but Mike McCoy, he showed he's got a good control of that team. He's an offensive guy, so I think it's going to work out for the Chargers. The final segment for our NFL one, a lot of NFL stuff, is the top free agents. Now, there's a ton of free agents available, but the big ones that highlighted for me is running backs-wise, there was 3 that really stuck out. You have Maurice Jones-Drew, Knowshon Moreno, and Darren McFadden. All their stats, I mean, Moreno had a nice season, 10 touchdowns. Darren McFadden was hurt again, like every season. Maurice Jones-Drew, you could definitely tell that the amount of carries he's been getting over his career is really taking a toll on him. But, I mean, if you're a team, Rob, let's go to you. If you're a team who is like a competitor right now, is there one of these guys who you're targeting?
I really like Jones-Drew and Darren McFadden. McFadden has done a great job with the Oakland Raiders, despite being injured. You know, Joe, he's very effective when he's on the field.
Absolutely.
And he's when he lines up in the wide receiver set, too, he's great. He can catch football. He could destroy you down the field. Moreno, thing is, you know, Denver's going to sign him back, most definitely.
Yeah.
He's done a great job over there. But because Jones-Drew, we've seen what he's done for Jacksonville, so God knows what he could do for some other team, how effective he could be, because he could definitely be a dangerous running back if you sign him. You know, he's going to be 28 years old. He's still young. He's got at least 4 years left in his tank. Let's see what he could do.
I mean, I'd love him to go to a competitor. The thing that always bothers me for him is he's always had to spend his whole career in that just terrible Jaguars teams, and it'd be nice to see him go to a team that could compete. Moving on to the wide receiver phase, the big ones you have is Hakeem Nicks, Eric Decker, Anquan Boldin, and James Jones. The big one, Hakeem Nicks, I don't think everywhere you read, it seems like he won't be back with the Giants. They've given their big money to Victor Cruz, and I think there was some off-the-field problems with him this year, too, but the stats are nothing to go right home about. 56 receptions, 896 yards. I think that the Giants and him are probably going to split ways. Eric Decker is going to be the big one. I mean, the Jets have a lot of interest in him, it seems like. But my problem with Eric Decker is, has all the that we've seen from him been because of how good Peyton Manning looks? His Peyton Manning made him look like a better receiver than he actually is. Because I remember when Tim Tebow was throwing to him, I never thought he was fantastic. I knew Demaryius Thomas was good when Tim Tebow was throwing to him. But Eric Decker with Tim Tebow, I never thought he was anything special. And Peyton Manning would look anybody look good. So I think for a team that's going to go out there and spend a lot of money on him, I would be kind of cautious with him. And James Jones is a good one because he's got a lot of talent. And I think if you're a team like the Colts or the Lions who really need more playmakers on offense, I mean, outside of Calvin Johnson for Detroit, they've got nobody. And the Colts just need as many weapons for luck as they can get because they don't have many aside from Reggie Wayne. So I think he's a nice pickup for a team like that. And then on the defensive side, the big names you have is Justin Tuck, Brian Orakpo, Aqib Talib, Dante Whitner. I think out of that list, Dante Whitner is a big one for San Francisco. They definitely have to re-sign him. He's been unbelievable for that defense. He fits in well, so I expect to see him back there. And then an interesting one is Brett Grimes. We know that we need good corners in the NFL, but I didn't know this. According to Pro Football Talk, he didn't allow a touchdown catch all season, Brett Grimes. He was with Atlanta and he had that ACL injury. He signed the 1-year contract with Miami. He was phenomenal. So he's going to be a hot commodity. But that's the main list. Rob, you have any you want to add to?
Aqib Talib, I think he'd be a great signing. We saw this year with the Patriots in the postseason, very dominant cornerback, and without him on the field, the Patriots were crushed. But you could tell on any team he's going to do a great, efficient job. Even Rogers Cromartie from Denver, he did a decent job as cornerback with them. The person I'm really sold on is Eric Decker and Hakeem Nicks, Joe. Eric Decker, you know what? Even if somebody signs him, he needs a really good quarterback. That's what he needs to sign with. We saw, as you just said before with Peyton Manning, that's what probably made him this best wide receiver. And look what else he has. He has 4 other good wide receivers on that team. So if one of them's double coveraged up, he's wide open down the field. But Hakeem Nicks, I think the Giants really were a bad team, but I think if he signs somewhere, he's going to have a great year. Even though he didn't have a touchdown catch this year, we've seen how effective he is, Joe. He won 1 Super Bowl already. He's effective down the field. But Hakeem Nicks should be a big signing this offseason.
Good points. I've always liked Hakeem Nicks a lot, too. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our NFL segment. We're going to be right back, and everybody's favorite, we got the 2014 Olympics. We're going to give you everything you need to know about them, and stick with us. We'll be back in 1 minute.